And if I turn this dial to the left, I will see what happens, and then we will go this way and...
Oh, hey, you might wonder what I'm doing dressed like a mad scientist in a laboratory. People don't really understand the connection between agriculture and science, research and farming. I'm in North Carolina at the Steve Troxler Agricultural Sciences Center. It's one of the finest facilities in the world. They just opened it a couple of weeks ago, $120 million to make this one of the finest farm research facilities in the world. To put it in simple terms, this is where people who dress like this help out people who dress like this. Come on, let me take you where the food comes from. Commissioner Steve Troxler, this is, I think, a very proud moment for both of us to be sitting here. I remember one day in 2018, I was visiting you and you said, you got a couple of extra minutes, there's something I want to show you. You brought me over here and I saw a big scratch of bare red dirt and a big pile of steel girders. And you said, you're never going to believe what's fitting to happen here. Well, it did. And your name is on the building, and you're still alive to talk about it. So that's either...
Yeah, you know, that's one of the rules of naming something, I think. Don't do it until they're gone. They still got time to mess up. You know, all the credit still goes to the good people that I have working in the Department of Ag. I'm so blessed to have such dedicated individuals, and I can truthfully say that we come to work every morning and the first goal is to help somebody, whether it be disasters, whether it's people that are having problems on the farm. That's what we're here for, and this is just one example of it.
The campus itself, this really contains all of the agricultural research and science component of North Carolina agriculture. It became clear to me as I watched the development of this, the kind of visionaries that people in agriculture have to be. Almost no farmer is working for himself. He's working for the future. That's a very unique mindset.
And that's what this building and this lab is all about.
Let's look on this wall right behind us. It happens so often that we look at history through the lens of the present, and we do so judgmentally. And we try to apply today's standards and what we know now to the way people were then. But there is one crop and one crop only that did not build just North Carolina agriculture, but built the state of North Carolina, and that's what's on the wall behind us.
That tobacco leaf is on that wall for that reason. You know, in the future, there are going to be generation after generation after generation that don't know anything about tobacco. Its history, how much it has meant to the state of North Carolina. It is still our #1 crop that grows out of the ground today. So it's still important, but it did build the roads, it built the churches, the communities, the university system, you name it, the money out of tobacco built it. I do want the history of tobacco in North Carolina to be well documented and remembered for what it was.
Well, right now, I think what we're going to do is get a little closer up look at agriculture. We're going to take a visit and a tour through this fine facility that proudly bears your name, whether you think it should yet or not. Dr. Marcus Selfridge, this is kind of the Wally's filling station of this amazing science center. We're standing in the fuel lab, and what do you do here?
So actually, our fuel lab was established in the early 1900s, initially to test the kerosene that was used in street lamp.
In the early
1900s, and with the advent of gasoline-powered vehicles and the use of diesel, even with farm equipment, all of those duties got shifted to the Department of Agriculture.
What is the point of testing the fuel?
What we do is we make sure that the fuel products that are purchased by the consumers out in the marketplace meet the specifications that are required, and that there's no danger to the consumer. If you're buying kerosene, you don't want gasoline to be mixed in with your kerosene in case you have a kerosene heater fire. We're actually standing in the octane lab, so in here we actually have the 2 engines that go to determine the octane index of gasoline. So on the left-hand side here, we have the RON engine, and on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side, we have the MON engine.
Now this is the one that has the lovely label here.
Detonation meter.
Detonation meter. What are you detonating?
Yes,
the
sir,
actual fuel?
This is actually a single-cylinder engine. It's an amped-up lawnmower engine, if you can imagine that. And the great thing about this is that we can actually vary the compression within the engine. So if we're testing a premium fuel, we'll set the compression to be where it should be for premium.
Now
if
that's not just for a farmer, that's for any consumer,
for everyone.
anyone who buys gas at a North Carolina gas pump. If that says it's 87 octane, 88 octane, 92 octane, this proves it.
Yes, sir. It comes through this lab.
I've been to a lot of states and dealt with a lot of state departments of agriculture. I don't think every state has a fuel test.
Not every state does. We are one of the larger states that has a fuel testing program, but a lot of states rely on their weights and measures programs to take much smaller samples and do limited testing. But here in North Carolina, we've always been dedicated to testing the fuel for consumers.
They told me not to touch a thing. All right, and then the next thing they told me is I'm not supposed to sit on the table either. They didn't let me in the labs a lot in school. I don't know why. What goes on in this part of the building? What happens in here, and what do you do?
What we do is we receive samples from inspectors and farmers, and they bring us milk, they bring us yogurt, they bring us fertilizer, feed. The farmers submit forage, which is what they feed their animals, like grass, hay.
Sure, the silage that they put together and that they collect from what they grow in their fields and feed their herds.
Right. So what we do is we analyze the commercial products to make sure that the guarantee that is on the label, to make sure that that is being met, the label claim is being met. So we will test it.
So this is where, and this is what the people at home can relate to. This is where if you pick up that boxed product or that bagged product or something and it says it has this much vitamins, minerals, nutrients, whether you're eating it, feeding it to your animals, y'all are making sure that all that is true, that all that is verified.
Correct. If it says it has 10% protein in it, we're going to tell you that we're going to tell you the amount of protein it has in it.
And hopefully it's going to be 10%.
And hopefully it's going to be 10%. Right. The farmers, they don't have label guarantees, but they want to know how much protein, how much fibers in what they're feeding their cows or their horses.
That they grew themselves.
That they grew themselves.
They don't have the means of saying how much fiber is in this, how much of this nutrient, what kind of balance do I need to be giving my animal?
And sometimes we get samples that if there is a problem, like they've had an animal that got sick or died, we analyze for toxins to make sure that it's not in there. It's not something they fed them.
It's not something that's going to spread. It's not something they did. It's not something that was a contaminated feedlot that's then going to harm other animals. So every bit of this building is set up for another layer of protection for people, for animals, for farm products, just for all of us.
Yes.
It makes science kind of homey and friendly, doesn't it?
We are homey and friendly.
What's your favorite part about a day in the lab?
Here I feel like I'm contributing because I'm protecting the consumers and the farmers and helping solve problems. I started out working in the lab, but I'm not in it that much anymore. But when I was in it, I really enjoyed the analysis on some of our instruments and trying to make sure that.
And that's what looks fun to me, is pushing the buttons and twisting them down. Difference being, I would burn the building down, and then they'd have a big $120 million smoking crater and would have to start over. You, on the other hand, know what you're doing.
Correct.
Which is exactly why they told me not to touch anything.
Or sit on the table.
Or sit on the table. Naomi, what's for dinner?
Let's find out.
Let's find out, okay?
Looks like some fescue and some oat grass.
Now that sounds pretty appealing if you're a horse or a cow or what. Why is this in here? What's happening right here? And this was, again, the whole point of me not touching anything.
We receive the forage from the farmers, and it's wet. So in order to grind it, we need to dry it out.
So this is the hay, the clover, whatever they're growing.
Silage, whatever they
as
give
a
it.
cover crop in that field that they're going to use to feed their animals. They're collecting that in the field. So when it comes to you, it's still wet.
It is still wet, and there are calculations that are done on an as-submitted basis and a dry basis. So we need to dry it to find the moisture
this is the
content.
drying process of that. So that's just very relatable to open the door. Can I touch one of these, or did I ruin something? All right, this is the hard part of the job. This is the sadder part of the facility. And not to make light of it in any way, but this is the necropsy lab. This is where animals who have died from unknown causes are brought by farmers or by state officials. It's very important that we understand, same as with humans, that when we pass what happened, what went wrong, and was there anything that might present a threat to others.
We do see farm animals. We have an avian room that's over there. And what a lot of people don't realize is that if a companion animal, like a dog or a cat, dies and the reason is unknown, then vets use this lab to send the animal to determine the cause. So it touches, lives in addition to farmers.
Right.
And it is the lab does about 3,000 necropsies a year. This facility, the nice thing about it is it's twice as big as our last one. And it has nice things like the hydraulic lifts to help move larger animals.
Well, and you can actually see this table is huge.
It is.
When you first come in and see something like this, you go, it's clearly some kind of medical facility. What on earth goes on a table that size? Well, that's going to be a horse or a heifer
Or a zoo
a
animal.
big hog or a zoo animal?
Right.
A zoo animal.
Yes, we do get some zoo animals sometimes.
Really?
Yes.
See, the things that you would never think, that would never cross your mind, and that even at this final stop, this is a circle of life where what is learned in this room will save or help or benefit others.
And the nice thing about this room is it was designed to be bigger. The tables will lift up
Right.
for ease of use. There's more room, so we could, do more animals
Sure.
when needed. And having the separate rooms that we can shut off offers a level of biosecurity that we did not have.
Oh, so that's actually a biosafe room. I think there are two of those.
There's two of those.
So
There's
if
one
something
here.
really bad was in an animal and it was brought here and they said, uh-oh, that was something we got to contain.
Yes.
They're going right in that room and it's not going any further.
Right. So it offers a level of biosecurity that we did not have. We also have this can also be a teaching lab. Over behind Dr. Hoagland is a observation room,
Right.
which could be used for students, vet school students, and others that are learning about and to come and observe how necropsies are done.
It's probably the least favorite part of the facility, but it's certainly one of the most crucial.
Right. Well, in North Carolina, agriculture is very important to us. And many people don't realize that 68% of our cash receipts is from animal agriculture.
Oh my.
It is, we rank high in hogs and turkeys and poultry. So it's a very important part of our agricultural industry, and learning when there is a problem, being able to quickly identify it is just a needed thing.
But when people think about farming, it's not the first dot they connect. We'll pay our respects and we'll move on.
Okay.
All right. So this facility really has brought 7 state lab departments under one roof in one building with about 5 acres of lab space and control space.
Yes, well, it's brought 7 different locations.
7 different lab locations.
Right.
Everything that's in this building now was at 7 different locations in North Carolina.
In this area, yes.
But in the same, but still you couldn't walk across or go to the next floor and say, can you help us with this?
Oh, no.
Can you help us
And
with that?
one of the nice things about co-locating this space is that And for our veterinary and our food and drug areas, that they sometimes share lab space if they're working on the same, with the same equipment or the same. So it has allowed a little bit of collaboration. We have approximately 200 employees that work in the building.
In this building?
Yes.
And then they support field staff as well?
Yeah, approximately 200 field staff.
Another 200. So this building is responsible for more than 400 North Carolina jobs?
Yes.
And those jobs support countless North Carolina farmers and farm families.
If you sleep, eat, take medicine, drive a car in North Carolina, something in this lab has supported you today.
And that has touched your life somehow.
Yes.
Now, one good thing when we start things over, sometimes we get a chance to go, And when they were building facilities, I think some of them, they told us they were working in buildings that were old as 1954. Now you get a chance to look around and go, wish we'd have thought of. One thing that they wish they had thought of forever, scientists and researchers have been stuck in the lab, trying to keep their notes in their lab, trying to write their reports in their lab. In this building, they've actually got workspace. They got a little space of their own where they can sit and think and do what they need to do.
They do. They have a place they can put their, women can put their pocketbooks, or anyone can put their coat, have a drink at lunch, and sit outside of the lab space while they're at work, which in some of our labs, there wasn't space to do it. We did build, this building was built with employees in mind. That's a lot of natural light, break rooms. We have a very nice break room, pull-out conference rooms so to help employees collaborate. And we have a bipolar ionization system, which actually...
I think they have a pill for that now. I think is the ventilation system?
Yes, the ventilation system is designed to help keep employees healthy. It negatively charges particles that are in the air to actually take away...
It's like a bacteria and virus zapper.
Yes.
It's like your bug zapper in your backyard, but it's for the bugs that would come after us.
That's exactly right.
That's amazing. So we're in about the safest place in Raleigh, North Carolina we could be right now.
It's the building is, it was designed for employees, and it was designed to protect consumers throughout the entire state of North Carolina.
They do a great job at it, and I'm moving in Thursday, so we'll be back.
It sounds good to me.
Larry Smith, Christmas tree farmer from Newland, North Carolina. You also grow some pumpkins and gourds and ornamentals. You do wreaths and things like that. You are kind of representing the other side of the coin here. How does this interact with your life? Where do you cross paths?
Most people wouldn't realize, even if I drive my tractor to the convenience store and fill up with diesel fuel, that has an effect because they're determining that I'm getting real diesel fuel. And if I go in and decide I want to buy a lottery ticket, those balls that pop up at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30, they're weighed here.
In this building?
They sure are.
So, and that's to make sure that the game's not rigged and that nobody can get in there and monkey around with it. And
twice a month they weigh those balls to make sure they're the same weight.
Did you offer to weigh them for him?
Well, he told me he would like to know which one was the lightest.
I think that's a fair choice too. But their job is to make sure that none of them are the lightest. And that's their job, is to apply checks and balances across all things. How they help you on the farm. Obviously the diesel, if there's contaminated fuel, that's more than just a bad tank of diesel for you. Now you've got a ruined tractor. It's going to be a very expensive repair. We can see those kind of things. How do they directly impact your crop and what you grow?
Well, if I go out in the field and see a problem with the Christmas trees, if they're turning yellow and I don't know why they're turning yellow, I can take a cutting off of that limb and send it in for tissue analysis, and they'll tell me what nutrients are in there and what nutrients are not in there that I may need to add. Or
now what you need to do to adjust your nutrient mix or your watering schedule, whatever you can do to improve or save or just make a better crop to make a stand to earn your living.
Correct. Or I can also go out there and take a soil sample, with a little probe and dig down in the ground 6 inches and spread out, do that numerous times over an acre, and they'll do the same thing. They'll tell me, if the potassium or phosphorus or calcium or whatever level of that element that I'm going to need, because they know they have done the research and they know what level that the elements need to be in the soil for us to grow the perfect Christmas tree.
As a farmer, how would you describe the relationship between farming, research, and science?
Well, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the research and the science that's been put in by the people here at the university and here with Mr. Troxler to help grow the best tree that we can grow. So it's very, very important to my bottom line.
We look at the role that science plays in agriculture, the role that agriculture plays in all of our lives. What we're all going to realize someday, every second of every minute of every hour of every day of your life, everything you do and everything you are is impacted by agriculture out here where the food comes from.